Well, Dove Springs Proud just sort of happened naturally, man, organically. I just was I was seeking other people out like myself who wanted to give back to the community. I was sort of at reaching the peak of my professional boxing career, and I met a guy named Ricardo Zavala, another man named George Morales, and another guy named Edward Reyes. And we got together and we started. Ricardo Zavala had the idea that we needed to have more accountability in our neighborhood. And we all sat down at the table and we said, well, how do we do that? And Ricardo Zavala said, well, I got this idea. It's called Dove Springs Proud. And it's going to be a nonprofit organization aimed at advancing and educating the people. And it's gonna hold other nonprofit organizations more accountable. So what was happening is nonprofit organizations were coming into Southeast Austin and making millions of dollars, right? Like in grant funds from like the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, from Microsoft, Bill Gates, So I mean, they were getting money on our behalf, and they were spending it on our behalf, but there was no results coming from it. And so we wanted to hold those people more accountable, and they didn't like it. They didn't like us as citizens of our own community trying to try to take accountability of our own community. And now, to me, it's probably the most successful nonprofit in Southeast Austin. It gives away thousands of dollars in scholarships. It gives away thousands of dollars in funds for people who are in need, for groceries, for trips, for travel, for anything. You can literally get on there and you can ask a question. Like, for example, the other day, somebody who's from Dove Springs moved back to Mexico, and he wants to open up a gym in Mexico named after Dove Springs Proud. And he wrote the owner. I mean, he wrote the head founder, Ricardo Zavala, and he put it up to a vote, like America, right? We vote on it, and people voted yes to give them funds to help them start a gym down there in Mexico, to help the underprivileged kids down there. So it's a great program. It's very successful, and I tip my hat to Ricardo Zavala for taking it, running with it, and building it into something that's we probably would have, we imagined it, we wanted it, but something that we just maybe not have thought was attainable, because all kinds of politicians get back to it. They, whenever you run for city council or you run for anything in office, you're donating to Dove Springs Proud.
They had me ask a bunch of questions, and I was just like, well, I don't know if I could donate, because I just don't know how much money I'm going to get or what's going to happen. But I've looked into it. It seems like a very good organization, and it seems like it's an organization where the people on the board have agency over where the money gets spent, and there's a lot of transparency.
Yes.
And like when you have like the Habitat for Humanities and the Greg Andersons, and everyone thinks like, oh, Habitat, that's great, but there's no transparency or accountability for how that money gets spent. It could be spent on just more office supplies or another office, or like it could be spent hiring your buddy to get a cush job to do God knows what. And
Habitat for Humanity used to be a really great organization. It's something that I used to volunteer when I was a kid, and my mom was a big advocate of, and it just sort of got taken over by these neoliberal socialists, in my opinion. And they want to cramp people into a little space, and they want to say that, well, that's the only place that you can live. You can only live in a little apartment. You can't live in a full single family home, and that's not right. That's un-American. If you want to help people, then help people live where they want to live. If they want to live in a single family home with a yard and a fence, then help them out. Don't just say, oh, I'm going to build these condos and we're going to help more people, which is true. You can help more people, but I mean, I don't think as people we're supposed to live in a one room condo.